Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 36 of Rise Up the Podcast. I'm here with your host, Greg Beast Grenlian, and we are back after a week hiatus. You know, we celebrated the 4th of July, but man, we have a lot of lacrosse to unpack since our time off. But before we get into that, Greg, how you doing? How was your 4th? You spent some time with the fam?
Yeah, it was good. We hung out, did a little barbecue here, and then this past weekend, actually, my friend George Azar, one of my best friends, he actually is the one who got me into lacrosse when I was in high school. It was birthday. We went to Atlantic City, HQ, little pool party. So it was good to blow off steam, have some fun. How about you?
Hell yeah, that's awesome. I was out in Long Island for like a week and a half, played a lot of golf, went to the beach. Weather was great, so no complaints there. I tell you, I have the golf bug bad. I've always liked playing golf. Like with my buddies, but I've never been serious about it in terms of like getting better. And now this summer is the first summer I really keeping a handicap, trying to go low, trying to get better. Just got fitted for some new irons, so I'm investing in the game right now. So I got the bug.
Good for you, man. You know, it's funny. My best friends from home, all obsessed with golf. Play it as much as they can, watch as much as they can. My neighbors here, obsessed with golf, go golfing all the time. And I'm just in the middle of it all. I'm like, yo, I'll play golf if you guys play golf. I'll play best ball. But I can't imagine playing it on a regular basis because I would do what you're doing. I would want to get better. I would hire a coach. And I just don't have that kind of time.
I hear you. In the summer, it's good to just get out of the city and play golf on Long Island or, wherever, New Jersey. So it's like a nice little getaway. But, man, it's hot as hell in the city right now. I hope our producers don't get mad that my AC is cranking right now because I need it.
Dude, that's one thing I don't miss from the city, man. Stepping out of your apartment and just sweltering concrete insulated heat.
I just got back from a private lesson with one of my boys. We were grinding up on the Upper West Side. I biked my ass back down. I'm dripping a little bit, but man, if good making some, side money. I know you're always grinding. I'm taking a page out of your book, trying to get some lessons and get some, walking around money. Actually, next week I'm going out to Montauk with some of my boys for about a week. I took 3 days off of work, so I'll work Monday, Tuesday, then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Hopefully play some golf out there. Montauk Downs, great course, beach, dive bars, have a good time.
I love that for you. I'm actually going to be taking the family down to Avalon, New Jersey for a long weekend this weekend. So, hey, summertime, man, you work hard when you're in the office and you try to be where your feet are, as Coach Seth Tierney says. So hang out with the friends, hang out with the family, and enjoy it. So that's awesome.
Absolutely. And we got to shout out our boy, Scotty Rogers. He's grinding right now, as he always is. We miss him. Hope he's doing well. He's working an overnight camp in New Jersey right now. Can't hop on, but he'll be back next week, we hope. We have a great episode next week. But before we get into even talking about next week's episode, like I mentioned, we have a ton of lacrosse to talk about. No guest again this week. We felt like we have so much to unpack. The guest will be coming back next week. We have the Sidewall Jedi, Lars Keel, coming on, talking about all things good in the lacrosse world, whose sticks he's stringing, how he got into it. He has a really cool story. I got to interact with him a lot when I was playing with the Cannons, the MLL. He was part of the organization, so I'm excited for that interview. But let's go all the way back before the PLL resumed, and let's talk about how the World Games finished. Because our last episode, we just got finished with the USA-Canada game. We broke down, the style of play, the games we saw so far, the teams we liked, maybe some dark horses, and now, it all unfolded. USA took the gold. What'd you see? Did you think this was similar to your experience in 2018 in Israel, or just new team, new experience?
Yeah, I think that overall watching this, it was just a different feel. Here's what happened in early, I guess around 2006 to 2010, right? Those World Games. You could see how the Canadian outdoor style gave Team USA a lot of trouble. They had, first they had Jeff Snyder as a face-off specialist, completely ruined Team USA in 2006 when they didn't take Paul Canabine, tried to do it with just some midfielders and couldn't get the ball. Then in 2010, you were just like, wow, this style of outdoor offense is tough because it's box-like. It's very two-man game. It's very, slip picks and hold the ball for a really long time and all that stuff. And you were like, wow, now that Canada has gotten better at the outdoor game, we might be in for some trouble. At the same time now, what I thought we saw this time around, one, was that USA athletes and players are now benefiting from playing box more than ever. And that style of play that the Canadians play doesn't befuddle us anymore. We're so used to playing it that I think Americans are better than ever, especially with shorties when you're going big and small, on the two-man game. And I think they're on to the slip picks. They're on to that stuff. So, one, that stuck out right away. I thought this USA defense could have played Canada 12 times and won 12 times. Then, the other thing that stuck out is we have a serious changing of the guard. You notice that a lot of America's stalwarts weren't there. Paul Rabel was there for years, myself. And then you're starting to see with Canada, they used to have those linchpins that you always feared. Right? Wardo was arguably the best international goalie for a long time. Brody Merrill, the greatest LSM of all time. You had Jeff Snyder, one of the greatest international and pro faceoff guys of all time. So these were linchpins for them. John Grant Jr., long time, right? They're all aged out now. And the question is now going to be for Canada, is your next incoming group of Canadian players that are playing at the men's level, are they going to be able to hang with the incoming crop of Americans? When the MVP of the gold medal game is a returning senior in college, that says a lot about Team USA. And look, Brennan O'Neill and that tryout, he could have been one of 3 college guys that went. That's how much talent is there right now. So those are the 2 things that really jumped out at me. The third thing that was a lot of fun was this was the best Haudenosaunee team that we've ever seen. And I hope that this continues as well. Seeing them finish 3rd in the world is awesome. What did you notice?
So the point you made about the changing of the guards I thought was interesting because I feel like this round was the transition. It is like the middle of the transition.
Yeah.
Because you mentioned, guys like yourself, Paul, Hartzell, kind of out.
Hartzell.
Holman.
This was Earhart's last one. Holman's out. Jack Kelly, Rob Pennell very well might be their last ghost.
Exactly what I was going to get to. You have guys on this roster who are leaders. Earhart, Pennell.
Trevor.
Trevor. Trevor. You think this is going to be Trevor's last?
No, I'm saying you said leaders. Trevor went
absolutely,
from baby to 5 years later. Now he's the vet.
I'm talking about guys who I think this will be their last go.
Gotcha.
So like guys like Earhart, guys like
McCardle
Pennell.
Probably.
Who?
McCardle probably.
McCardle. So there's a handful. So I think the next time, which was great that USA got a lot of these young guys in. They got experience. They learned from the older guys who have had the experience, and now they, can take the next crop. So it was a good move, not kind of totally wholesaling. We talk about over and over and over again. You could make a USA B team that would play USA's A team in the championship, probably in this tournament.
You could take all the guys who didn't make the final cut and make another team. I don't know if it would have won the gold or not. Here's the thing that really stuck out is since 2006, you didn't know how the face-offs were going to go because Jeff Snyder was so formidable. And it would generally be, except for 2018, it was usually 50-50. 2018, Trevor and I went back and forth, and I think we won like 62%. But this time around, it was the other thing that stuck out, right? This is Danowski and his group's second time around. So they were like, we got who we need in the goal. We got Trevor. Trevor took all but 2 face-offs, I think. And they were just like, we are going to stick with what works. And when Trevor's dominating the face-off time of possession with no shot clock, good luck. And like I had mentioned before, with the new cadence that World Lacrosse uses, where they have a space between set and whistle and they set you up straight up and down, it gives Americans a huge advantage. So there wasn't this desperate feeling of urgency whenever you wouldn't have the ball because you knew that whenever there's a goal, we could probably get it back. So that was the biggest thing because those face-offs used to be they're so tense. But Canada battled. They played much better the second time around, like we thought they would.
And the game was, I don't want to say a little bit more up-tempo, but we saw more goals, 10-7. I think the first game was 7-5. So it was good to see a little bit more goals, a little bit more excitement. And you're right. I mean, anytime it's USA Canada in any sport, you're gonna get each other's best. And
Yeah.
it was a great game. USA, I felt like had the control. When Canada tried to kind of make a move for that inside track, they kept them at arm's length. And what'd you think about them going with Blaze for the whole game in the championship? Just hot hand?
Yeah, we did something similar in 2014. Jesse Schwartzman was our guy in the gold medal game, and we were just like, this is our guy. Like the coaches thought he was playing the most consistent, so they went with him. I think, Blaze is like Jack Kelly is playing like old Jack Kelly, which is so cool to see because we love JK. Blaze Reardon is the best goalie in the world. And he didn't show any signs of not being that throughout the Worlds. And like I said, I think for the coaching staff, there's a very good chance that if we, for some reason, we're blowing the doors off Canada and we're up by like 6 or 7 going into halftime, that you probably would have seen Jack Kelly come in and you would have seen TD take more draws. But it was close. And now also I want to give a shout out. Justin Inacio went toe-to-toe with Trevor. And then even when TD came in, I think there were 3 faceoffs. He got the clamp 2 out of the 3 very quickly. So, I was waiting. I was getting a couple texts from some PLL coaches about Justin after the World Games because I think a lot of people were wondering, is his knee okay? It looks like it is.
Yeah, absolutely right. Let's go, talk about the bronze medal game, the Haudenosaunee versus Australia. They won pretty handily, 11-6. And they, I thought they played great in their games against, USA and Canada. They really, I think, separated themselves from the pack in terms of 4th, 5th, 6th.
Yeah, there's no doubt these are the top 3 teams. 100%.
And, they play such a cool brand. It's so funny because we talk about the Canadian brand that they play, the USA brand of lacrosse, and the Haudenosaunee play their own brand of lacrosse, which is awesome to see, which is great about the World Games. We talk about Japan playing their brand of lacrosse. Yeah. Every single country has a different kind of spin, different flavor, different play style, which is so great to see in this type of setting and why this is such a great event. And, I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves and talk about the PLL games, but you saw in the interview after the Whipsnakes game, they asked Zed about, coming back to attack after playing defense all World Games, and he's just like, man, I love playing lacrosse. How great of an answer is that?
Well,
dude just loves it.
I was actually at Fordham Prep today at their day camp, and I was answering questions on a Q&A. I was talking about lacrosse and how I don't like calling it the sport of lacrosse. I like calling it the game of lacrosse. And it's interesting because Zed kind of personifies, when we watch the Haudenosaunee play, they're playing the game, right? The rest of the world, I feel like we play the sport of lacrosse. And for them, it's the game. It's a game. And for them, it means a lot. It's like a religious experience for them. So, Zed is just an absolute darling of the sport. And there's no calculated reason he's saying it. He's saying it because it comes from the heart, and that's what makes him so endearing. But, yeah, it was pretty cool. I mean, he went, and look, we all learned he could play PLL defense.
I know
like, that dude could grab a stick right now and go play D.
I know it. It's so true. And then we had Japan. They won pretty handily against England in the 5th place game.
Japan, we talked about them, right? They pumped England in that final game, and they are 5th in the world. Good for them, good for their organization, good for their country. I actually would love to get back. I would love to get out to Japan. I've been wanting to do it for years, and I know the FOA has a very heavy influence out there. I would love to get out there again for something.
I would have loved to have seen, I know, where is it? I'm trying to find it in the stats. Haudenosaunee, that game against Japan, they won 10-5. I would have loved to, in the quarterfinals, I would have loved to seen them match up in the bronze game. The way the bracket was. They met a little early, but I think, Japan, that's where they're trending. They want to be in the conversation with USA, with Canada, with the Haudenosaunee. So, and I think they're getting to that place. Like I said, they took it to England in the 7th place game. We had Jamaica lose a heartbreaker to Israel. And Israel's a team that's been around in the world lacrosse conversation for a while.
Yeah.
Jamaica, not so much. So for them to play Israel to overtime in the seventh-place game, that was awesome to see. I know Jamaica took it on the chin to Canada in the quarterfinals or whatever they met. Pretty lopsided game. But to see him bounce back and play so competitively against a program with the likes of guys like Max Siebold, who's played for Israel in the world games, right? Like this is a team that consistently has top tier D1 and professional guys that are part of the organization, and for them to take it down to the wire OT, great to see for Jamaica. I'm excited to watch them grow. We talked about that kid, what's his name, Stone Evans, the high school guy.
We definitely expect to be a guest on this show in the next few weeks for sure.
I know Air Force better hold on to him tight, because after the World Games, I'm sure he's getting some calls. He was going up against the likes of guys like Graham Hosek, who's renowned as probably a top 3 defender in the world. And
so I think I told you this. Stone texted me after he heard the pod when we had mentioned him, and he sent me this picture. This is Stone Evans at a Lizards game in about, I think it was 2013 or 2014.
So sick.
Dude, that is just the coolest thing, man.
Healy, you need to get that out on Instagram and Twitter ASAP. You're sleeping on us.
Well, he sent me the picture. I didn't know if he wanted it to be public or not. But yeah, it was very cool. I guess it's public now. But that's like the best part of this sport, is especially from a professional standpoint, is how much access. When you were playing for the Cannons, the amount of you would sign every autograph out of the 10,000 kids that were there and then leave. And this stuff is coming full circle. So now I'm a Stone Evans fan after he was a Lizards fan. So it's really cool.
You're absolutely right. I would come out of the locker room and not even dressing for Cannons games in my polo, and people would be asking for my autograph, and I'd laugh. I'm like, you don't want this. But you're absolutely right. It makes the kids' day, and the access. They're right outside the locker room. They're able to wait right there and get that FaceTime. And just to round out our conversation of the World Games, I just want to shout out Team Italy. They had a heartbreaker in the quarterfinals. They or the round before the quarterfinals, they beat Puerto Rico for the 9th place game. My boy Christian Cuccinello, second in the tournament in points. I know he kind of hung up his professional lacrosse career last year, but he dusted off the cleats, showed everyone he still has it, second in the tournament points. So shout out to Cooch, shout out to Italy. That was a fun team to watch. But any last thoughts on the World Games or the state of world lacrosse going forward?
I feel great. I think ESPN continues to push the sport forward. I think the platform they've given us is amazing. The fact that just 5 years ago, you probably had to watch a live feed at midnight if you were lucky to watch our gold medal game in Israel, to now you can turn on Germany versus Czech Republic or something and it's streaming on ESPN Plus. Like, that's just so cool. There's more access to international lacrosse than ever. There's more buzz on Twitter. A lot of that has to do with the PLL. A lot of it has to do with ESPN and the job they've done. So just salute to them, and World Lacrosse is doing a phenomenal job of taking this thing forward. So I feel really good about where we're at in the sport.
And we talk about rules in this game, a lot. Yes. But I would love to see them find a middle ground between sixes and this kind of format we saw in the World Games. If they played, college rules, PLL rules, I think that would make a lot of people happy.
80-second shot clock, man.
I know. And
just add the 80-second shot clock.
Totally. And I know, sixes is the path to the Olympics, smaller rosters, smaller budgets. We get it. For World Lacrosse, it'd be awesome to see them, tinker with it a little bit just to make it more appetizing for the consumer. But I also maybe think that they are a little, purist and, this is World Lacrosse. We're keeping it this way. I don't know. You probably have way more experience with the kind of the committee and how it works than I do. But I would like to see a little bit of tinkering.
I think, I don't have that much information on how the committee works with them. Like, for instance, I was shocked when they went to the 2019 PLL cadence for faceoffs. But, that was a little tweak, right? That was a tweak that made it so much better to watch. So, I think one of those things where, yes, World Lacrosse, if you have purists, that's fine, that's cool. But if you're real purists, then why aren't we using wooden sticks, right? Like the game has to go forward at some point. And if our goal for World Lacrosse and International Lacrosse is to be more desirable for people to watch, this could be something similar to look at World Cup soccer. Every 4 years, everybody in America who's never seen soccer all of a sudden is an expert in USA soccer, right?
Yell and
So
shoot.
same thing. Let's get more people involved. I want people at bars to turn it on and see a shot clock, see fast paced. Yeah, I think that's the ticket moving forward. We'll see.
I think you're right, and that's our recap on the World Games. If you agree or disagree with some of our takes, make sure you tweet at us. I'd love to hear some predictions for next time around, whether players on USA or any other emerging countries that are going to make a push for the gold. But with that being said, let's switch gears and talk about the PLL's last weekend in Minneapolis. Cool facility out at the Vikings practice facility. Was that a stop when you were in the PLL, or is that newer?
No, we didn't go there in 2019. I don't believe. I missed 2 games, I think, because of my hamstring. I don't think that was one of them, though.
So, just from TV, seems like a super cool facility. I've been doing a lot of work with Team Unreal, which is out of Minneapolis. So I know lacrosse is growing out there.
Yes,
they have the bug out there. I know Scotty was out there recently working camps. So it's a great emerging spot for lacrosse. It's a great market for the PLL to go to, and we had some great games. I know we had some players that were on the unable to participate list due to action in the World Games. People getting right after kind of long grueling tournament. So a lot of teams weren't full strength, but no excuses. Every game counts the same. Let's start off right away with the Water Dogs Chrome. Water Dogs beat the Chrome 10-7, and we have some interesting development in terms of strategy with how the Water Dogs played this game. I'll let you get right into it.
Yeah, I intentionally stayed off of Twitter on Saturday to avoid all this nonsense. But so basically, people who don't know, if you haven't watched the show before, we've talked about it before, the PLL decided that a 52-second shot clock needed to be revised after a face-off win. So now it's a 32-second shot clock. 20 seconds cut out of your offense is massive. And the reason is they didn't like the dead time of mass substitutions after a face-off win. You could also argue that they didn't want the dominance of a face-off man to be that big of a game changer. So the first couple of weeks, what we noticed is winning a ton of face-offs doesn't necessarily mean much of a possession advantage because you're only getting half a shot clock. So the Water Dogs, who were last in the league in face-off percentage because Jake Withers has been hurt all season, had decided that they're just going to put their pole out there. They're going to force Trevor to clamp, turn, and pop it, and then have to run against a pull-up field or throw it back to his goalie. By the time you get your change, you have 19, 18 seconds on the clock. You get some kind of rush, shitty shot, and now you're on offense if you're the Water Dogs. And they ended up winning handily against the Chrome, right, because they were playing against Connor Farrell. And people were asking me before the game, why are they doing this? Well, 1, because they're not winning faceoffs. 2, the shorter clock. 3, they believe that they could expose Connor Farrell and they could chop him up and hopefully get some turnovers. Now, I think unofficially on the sheet there were 10 turnovers off the faceoff on the Chrome. So, yeah, it worked. And they won. So people were like, oh my God, not that Lax Twitter is hyperbolic at all. But Greg, what are you going to do? They're getting rid of the face-off position. I'm like, look, I try to be positive about it. Listen, some of it, yeah, the clock is crazy short. The other side of it, though, Sibes, is as a face-off man, it's your job to figure it out now, right? So if I'm Trevor or Connor or any of the younger face-off guys, and I come out there and I see a pole in front of me, Sibes, I would have done unforgivable things. If a genie said, I'm going to give you 5 chances to take faceoffs only against poles for an entire game this season, I'd say, give me my 98% record-breaking tattoo right now, because you are going to win every clamp. Now, as far as speed is concerned, you put two shorties on your wing, you drop them all the way back, you dare their wings to cover them. If they cover them, then you
Send
go
them.
in and out, catch it on their left. No pole should be able to stop you, run right past them. If they all play prevent defense, you pop it in the air to your offensive midi. As he's catching it, you run a 4-2-40 off the field, and you have almost 30 seconds to run an offense. No one's doing that. Everyone's still trying to face off, turn, pop it to yourself. And I was actually talking to Paul on the way back up from Jersey this past weekend. And he was sharing the data points with me, saying there's only 5% less goals are being scored than there was at the 52-second shot clock, that there's other things that we have to look at. Like, he's right. An Atlas star-studded defense can't stop the Water Dogs, right? Like, they've given up a lot of goals this year. And then also he was making a comment when we played on the Lizards together. He's like, I feel like we used to have Kevin Understein back in the box, clamp, turn, he's sprinting right past me like two ships in the night, toss it to him, and he goes for a break. But now it's the counterpunch. What's going to happen after you, as a face-off guy, see that they're going to pull you? I mean, you know you're going to win the clamp, so you can pop the ball anywhere you want.
I would like to see, and I know it's tough with the one practice a week. It's tough to game plan it and throw something in on the fly. I would love to see, if I have my coaching hat on, put your fastest midi on defense. Win it backwards, get possession, throw it to him as he's breaking up field, and look at that. You have someone stay back, and he's going over the midfield line. Why not? Why not?
Yeah, that's what that's what we used to do with Understein. Now, you can do it once or twice. You can't do it every time, because as soon as they see you go back, everyone's just going to drop back and let you toss it to them. But like I said, this is actually very simple. I think it might be a skill set thing. I don't know if it is, but I really think it's just an experience thing. You haven't seen everything yet. This is still a pretty young face-off league. Trevor's probably the oldest face-off guy out there, and he's a young buck. So for me, I had seen everything at that point, so that wouldn't have been an issue really. Now, the question is, if we do see it, and they do start doing that, is it still enough time? And I think it would be. The thing that you have to remember is that for every action, there's a reaction. The Water Dogs decided to go pull. Okay, they're going to concede the face-off. I know Coach Presser doesn't like that word, but that's literally what they did. So now the question's going to be, what do you do in response to that? And I think there's got to be a couple face-off guys that step up and do this. It's like, remember when the Wildcat came into football, and all of a sudden it was like, how do you stop this? They have an extra blocker. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh, a defense figured it out and completely shut it down. Copycat league. Same thing here. If one face-off guy does what I'm saying right here, shows that you can beat this pretty cleanly. Now, here's another thing I hope everyone's listening to. Paul wrote a huge thread on Twitter about all the reasons they're doing this. At the end of the day, he did say, he's like, look, optics-wise, that's still the most important thing. If they don't like it, after they have one full season and they go, look, flat out, this just wasn't a good idea. He's like, I have no problem backtracking and scrapping it and going to 52 seconds. My only request was that if they stick with this, can we get some kind of asterisk for the face-off records? Because there's going to be 4 guys that go 90% every single game, and then there's going to be 4 teams that go 0%, and then all my records get blown out of the water within 2 years. So that's my only request, selfishly. Now, what do you think? Like, do you think that they're not going to do 3 different clocks, right? They're not going to do like a 32, a 42, and a 52. So, like, what do you think the solve should be? Do you think it's that big of a deal?
I still think it's too early to tell.
Yeah.
I think the Atlas being 1 and 3 and we'll get to the Atlas. Let's just move into it. Let's move right into the Atlas Cannons. Yeah. The Cannons blew the doors off the Atlas. They absolutely whooped them, and we talk about it. Trevor is the best face-off guy in professional lacrosse right now, bar none. He's the best, and it's tough to tell because we're 4 games in. We're only 4 games in, but for them being 1-3, even in college with the 80-second shot clock, if you're winning 75% of your faceoffs, it's really hard to lose the game. It's hard.
It is, but it's happened before. We talked about this in the other episode. The Lizards led the MLL in faceoff percentage for 7 years. I don't have 7 rings.
Yeah.
In fact, we only had like 2 or 3 seasons out of those where we were definitively above 500. So this isn't a phenomenon that's never happened before. The question is it directly correlated to the short shot clock? And I can see the argument for that, but that doesn't answer the question like, why can't this defense stop people when they're absolute studs over there?
I think you're right there. Absolutely. It's not all on facing off, but I do still think because of the shortened shot clock, is just creating more possessions, which is devaluing the importance of the possession off the face-off. That face-off possession, unless you're winning it forward and starting a break, because of how short the shot clock is, and I'm not saying because you have a pull and a D mid or a pull and a transition mid and a face-off guy on the field. It's just simply because how short of a possession it is, and 20 seconds is a ton of time, and I think we are seeing just that possession is just so much less valuable, which is in turn causing face-off wins to be a little bit less valuable. It's still absolutely valuable. If you're down by
if you're getting 30 more possessions a game, but they're only 20 seconds at a time, are you really getting 30 more possessions?
No, you're getting 15.
Yeah. And I totally agree with that part. What I did notice is they never put 2-0 mids on the wings. And I'm curious if that's Trevor's decision or if it's Coach Pressler's. If it's Coach Pressler's, then that's weird. Because, look.
You know you're going to get the ball.
Well, you're going to get the ball. But also my other thing is I benefited a ton from Joe Spallina being my head coach with the Lizards and saying, you are an expert of this. You lead this unit. And I, with impunity, moved wings in and off, saw reactions, did everything, moved guys. Trevor can do that too. So if you're stopping the best face-off guy in the world from putting the right pieces out there to gain an advantage, you need to reassess the way you're coaching this thing, right? And it's just, that's the facts. Trevor's not going to go show you how to put in a defense, but this is the guy, and he knows what he needs. So I'm not saying that's the case, but I would just be shocked if Trevor was wanting to have 2-0 mids and they just weren't letting him do it.
Yeah. I have a question for you. Yeah. Are the Cannons back?
Cannons never left, baby.
They won 1 game last year.
They weren't.
They've already doubled their win total.
Yo, look, we said it. We said it all off season. They were like literally 7 goals away from being a 500 team last year.
I know.
And this year the chemistry is there. I think Holman being the coach and his son being on the offense makes a massive difference. There is a leader on that team, and they seem to be having a good time, which is awesome. And also the offense looks great. Why? Ball movement. And we had this conversation in the offseason. If Lyle got moved, would things look different? And in a Holman offense, it's required that you have a ton of ball movement, and they are spinning that thing.
And I think we see the equal distribution, on scoring as well because of it.
Yes.
I think, Marcus Holman, so consistent, still just playing unbelievable.
300th goal. Congratulations to him.
Congratulations. That is awesome. Huge, huge milestone. And then him and Kavanaugh being the older guys, they're bringing the young guys along with them. Asher Nolting, second year. And it's the same with Ryan Drenner. He's a veteran, bringing the younger guys with them. Asher Nolting's a young guy that is having a great season. Guys like Matt Campbell, rookie, having a great year from the midfield. Guy like Jonathan Donville and Chris Islanian. They're playing great lacrosse. And I don't think the casual fan might, turn on a game and be like, oh, Jonathan Donville, scoring a goal. Or Chris Islanian scoring a goal. Like, who's that? But, that goes back to how many good lacrosse players there are where, given the opportunity, playing in a good offense where the rock's spinning, the offense is sharing the ball. These guys are able to blossom and have, the great seasons that they're having like they are this year.
Yeah, great teams and great chemistry and culture always trumps a great player. And even though they might not have quote unquote star laden guys yet, they have to become household names. That's who they are. I can tell you right now, Brian Holman doesn't want any of his players to be featured anywhere. He wants his team to feel as equals, as equal chess pieces to a bigger match. And they're doing a great job. They also, in that game, they also did the same thing. They decided to tell Bones, they're like, just stand up and push Trevor back. And they went to a conceding the draw style to milk clock and force the Atlas, who, look, this could also be one of those things, Sibes, where we say, yeah, it's taken a while to get on offense, but maybe their offense needs a reset. Like maybe some parts need to move around. Because if, like we said,
In terms of the Atlas.
You're still getting, the Atlas, I'm sorry. You're still getting 15 more possessions in a game overall. So there has to be something that comes out of that. So, yeah, I mean, there's a couple things going on with the Atlas because they were this close to being the best team in the league last year. And I refuse to believe that a shortened shot clock is the only reason that they're not right now.
You're right. The Atlas are sitting at 1-3. And I said after, I think, the first week that I wasn't impressed with how they played. And something just isn't clicking. And on paper, if you just read their roster, they should have blown the doors off the Cannons. And that's no disrespect to the Cannons. And it's more so just saying, the Atlas starting attack is Teat, Law, and Chris Gray. Right? Like, that is insane. They have Brian Costabile, and they have guys like Xander Dixon, who had just had a great college season, and he's running out of the box. He's doing well as a rookie. Romar Dennis has been shooting the ball better. He's hitting his twos. That's what they need. And then they have, guys like Curry, who's really emerging. And then Justin Gutterton got his first appearance of the season this past week. I hope he, catches fire, stays in that lineup because I think they need it. And I think that they're doing the right things right now in mixing and matching, personnel. They need something. They need someone who's going to spark it.
Yeah.
Because
the other thing too with that shortened shot clock, the team you're playing against still has to make a stop. And then you're not getting scored on every time on the first possession of the other team. So what's going on here? Like if you can't make one stop and then get the ball back on an offense, it's interesting. There's a lot of things, like I said, I think things need to be tweaked a little bit lineup wise.
What do you think about their just defense and goaltending as a whole? They pulled Concan in this game. And we know how competitive he is. We've had him on the show. He was one of our first guests. He's an unbelievable player. And he's ultra competitive. I mean, goalies are so hard on themselves as it is. Yeah. Is that something that, Pressler's doing just to kind of spark the lineup, just change it up? Or
look, the Atlas do have the benefit of having two stud goalies. And, I think that there's a lot of promise there. And, look, it's one of those things where sometimes you just need a change.
Yeah.
Right? Like a quarterback is getting sacked 18 times and, for whatever reason, you throw the backup quarterback in there because you're like, look, man, you're getting killed and let's just get a change in there. And I think that's one of those things. I don't think it's a long-term disrespect or doubt of Concannon. And I just think it's just, look, we just need to change. We got to try something. And that's what they tried. There's very limited things you can do lineup-wise on game day because you only have 19 guys. Like, what are you going to do, put Trevor at attack? So, yeah.
Do you think the Atlas regret releasing a guy like Cade Van Raphorst?
Probably.
Right?
I mean, would you be thinking that right now?
I mean, their defense is great. They have Adler, who's a rookie, or great on paper, right? Adler, who's a rookie.
Dude, on ball, Adler is a savage.
Mm-hmm. They have Rexroad, and then they have Durkin. So is there a spot in the lineup for Rexroad? Maybe not there, but if you're getting scored on, you're getting blitzed, he'd be a great guy to insert into the lineup.
Well, here's a question for you. Who is the guy who is the great communicator on that close defense?
It's got to be Durkin.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think at the end of the day, there's a disconnect. Either people aren't listening, or people aren't moving fast enough, or there's some kind of communication breakdown. So that's, like with the Redwoods, regardless of how a game goes, you never have to worry about that being something that happens because you have Glaze. So I think, that's one of those things to look at. I think it's a communication issue on defense. They don't have any confidence right now, and they have to get confidence. And like you said, they deserve it because on paper they can hang with anybody. But that's the biggest thing when you were talking about this kind of thing, like in professional sports. If you're not confident anywhere on the field, it's going to get exposed and crushed.
You're absolutely right, and I'm not by any means I'm not counting out the Atlas. I think there's plenty of lacrosse in front of them, and I'm sure with the guys on this team, the leadership in that locker room, they're going to figure it out. I think that they're their own biggest critiques right now. They want to be better, and I'm sure they will. But they do need to figure something out, and probably fast.
Yeah, I'm also curious from a coaching staff standpoint. How is Pressler dealing with this? You have a different coach coming in. He entered a pretty good situation. Is he finding it tougher? I thought he would do a pretty good job because he's dealt with men before. He's coached USA successfully. So, yeah, I'm interested. I'm interested to see if there's any kind of growing pains with the PLL that he's dealing with right now. Because it's got to be weird. You've never played these rules. You're playing with the best lacrosse players in the world. So it's got to be an interesting situation.
Let's move on to another team we're probably surprised to see sitting at 1-3, which is the Whip Snakes. The final score was Archers 15, Whip Snakes 12. It was a closer game than that. I thought that the Whips, in the third quarter, it looked like, they were going to take it. Rambo wasn't playing. Hurts, but, it is what it is. This Archers team was without Ament. He's still nicked up. He's getting healthy. But, man, this Archers team is the real deal. They're the real deal. Their offense is sick. It's so fun to watch. It's so fun.
Mike Sisselberger put the Whips in a casket.
Mm-hmm.
He went like 85%. And he's dialed in right now. He's been a shot in the arm. When you think about the guys who've been on that Archers team all these years so far, they've never had this. They've consistently been one of the worst face-off teams in the league every year. Suddenly, you're giving an offense that we've always talked about 85% of the possessions. And it's interesting because Bates was interviewed afterwards, and he was like, this just proves that the face-off position is valuable, right? So it's in complete contradiction to the Waterdogs. And I actually tweeted out both teams that dominated on face-offs on Sunday won their games. So I was like, okay, maybe it's not the end of the world face-off-wise. Maybe it was just one game. And it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see what the Whips do now. Because, LaSalle is struggling a little bit. Granted, I think Sisselberger and Trev are definitively the top two face-off guys in the league right now. And it goes beyond the clamping part. It goes to be able to possess the ball multiple ways, get the ball to your offense quickly without causing turnovers. And this Archers team, man, O'Keefe is blitzkrieging right now. It's vintage. It's pretty cool.
And with Ament out, Matt Moore was able to bump down to attack. He lit it up this week. It's great to see. That's what's great. How great these players are. It doesn't matter where they are on the field. They're going to get theirs. And, you might not think, Moore's producing as much when he's at the midfield, but you bump him down to attack, it's like nothing. You know what I mean?
So somebody asked an interesting question on Twitter. They said, when do the Archers decide to move on from Ament? And I remember Dan Arestia responded. He goes, when Ament retires.
Yeah, I agree.
But and I agree with that. But for the sake of entertainment, if you're pumping teams with this kind of firepower, And you could get a stud piece in a place you need it if you're the Archers. And Ament has been available for, 6 games in 3 years?
There, in my mind, there is only 3 attackmen and 4 players that are truly, truly pass first guys, as well as having the athleticism, the two-handedness, and the field vision and the lacrosse IQ. And those 3 players are Tom Schreiber from the midfield, Pinnell from X, Sowers from X, and Ament from X. You can't put a value on that. I know he's not healthy, and it sucks. It really sucks. But those are the players in my mind that they check all of those boxes. They can absolutely undress someone from behind the cage. While they're doing it, they have their head up. They're seeing how the defense is sliding. They know where the second slide's filling in and where the lane's going to be, and can put a pass on someone's ear for them to finish. And if no one slides to them, guess what? They can turn the corner and score too. I think that's so valuable. And there's a lot of attackmen, right, who can dodge from X. But only those 3 in my mind can do it with that ability of consistently beating their man and being a dual threat, but not being afraid to pass the ball and get an assist or even a second assist.
Yeah, Grant Ament is like the Kyrie of attackmen. Like, when he's healthy, he's literally unguardable, and he'll shred you. My question, I just like the debate because I want to see what people think out there, But if I'm Bates, I'm sitting here going, look, when this guy's healthy, he's top 10 in the world. So the question is, if we can shred teams without him, why would we get rid of him? Let's keep him, and then when he's healthy, he goes back into the roster. But it's interesting because if he's out a couple more games and we keep seeing this, you're going to start to hear those tweets a little bit more often.
I just think that more so speaks to how good of a team the
100%.
Archers are.
That's what I think.
You see a guy like, Connor Fields, who had uber success when he was back with the Chaos. Then, right, they bumped him from attack. He wasn't getting his runs, wasn't getting as many touches. He found a home with the Archers. Manny goes away to the Whipsnakes. He finds himself in that kind of lefty wing role. He's sharing it a little bit with O'Keefe. But, you see Fields' production really jump so far this year. He has 11 goals in 4 games. That's awesome. And he's stepping up. You have guys from the midfield. Trey LeClaire found himself in a little bit more of a kind of transition defensive midi role, I think, in past year.
Yep.
He's back getting way more touches on offense, contributing, stirring the pot, making things happen. He shoots the shit out of the ball. He's probably has one of the fastest shots in the league.
Guy is a freaking tank, man.
Exactly.
Absolute tank.
It goes back to what I said earlier about given the right opportunity in the right environment, these players are going to shine.
Yeah.
On the other side,
this whole thing is about finding the right spot.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember in the MLL years there were guys that would sit on the practice roster forever on a team, then all of a sudden they go to another team and they become a star. And it's all chemistry and it's all locker room. And this locker room, like we talked about in the offseason, when guys were retiring and like Ratliff retired and then Manny moved and Holman moved, it was like, you know what, maybe it was just time. Maybe it was just time for this team to have some new faces and a new image. And I think their image is different now. It's a little bit more edgy. And I also think that it's not 3 or 4 best friends and then the rest of the team, to be honest. I think it's a lot. Point. I think it's a lot of guys that are all on the same page, and they're young and they're hungry. And I think it's pretty cool. And like I said, they're getting a ton of touches because of Sisselberger.
On the other side of the coin, Whips. They were without Rambo. Brad Smith is still injured. Those are 2 enormous pieces.
Dude, those two would start on any team.
Exactly. And, are we pressing the panic button yet for the Whips, or are we going to see them in championship weekend?
You know what we've learned from this league? There is no panic button.
Yeah.
There's only dead last. If you're not dead last, as long as they get Brad Smith and Rambo back, and quite honestly, they might get Nardella back, before, with 2 to 3 games left in the season, they win a couple games, and then they go in the playoffs and they can be the whips.
Yeah.
So now look, if only 4 teams made the playoffs, I'd be like, ooh, like it's time to like turn things around a bit. But they got plenty of time.
No, I agree. I hear you there. And I think you're absolutely right. You hit the nail on the head. Let's move on along to our last game of the weekend. Redwoods 13, Chaos 8. Redwoods, another team that I felt maybe they underperformed a little bit last year. Man, this year they look great. They're sitting at 3-1. Our boy Ryder Garnsey continues to fill the back of the net, find his way on Sports Center. He is just a man on a mission this year, and the whole team is clicking. Rob Pennell. I talk about Marcus Holman playing great. As towards maybe the end of his career. Rob Pennell, man, he looks like he could play another 5 years.
Dude, RP looks awesome, man. And it's interesting because I have been in the situation where you come back to the middle of the season after playing a World Games, and the high of winning is, one of those things where you're like, if you come back and you just won, you're just pumped to play lacrosse because you're just like, I'm a world champion. Now I want to go get another ring. And you have Ryder Garnsey, who's one of those guys where he just watched his old alma mater. He helped them win their first national championship. And he's like, yo, I'm trying to get a ring too now. And look, I honestly think this is the John Grant Jr. effect. I think Jr. coming in, one, he's a phenomenal. I mean, you have to respect him because he's one of the greatest players to ever pick up a stick. But two, the proof is in the pudding. His offensive methods work. They've worked everywhere he's gone. And when you're playing with the best players in the world and they're getting some tips from one of the greatest of all time, there's a reason to, in my opinion, this is the first time I've ever seen the Redwoods offense look totally confident. Like everyone's getting theirs. The ball is spinning. It's not dying in anyone's stick. If it is dying in a stick, it's because Garnsey's going to put himself on Sports Center, and it works every damn time. The defense is playing great, as usual. And they're getting strong face-off wins from TD. TD was absolutely crushing the Chaos this weekend. So, I think everything's clicking for the Woods right now. As a former Wood, I'm excited about it.
I was just going to ask you, the defense and goaltending is basically the same as when you were there. Offense definitely got, a little bit of a makeover. What's different just from your observations, same coach, of this Woods team and then Woods teams of past?
I think in the past, offensive guys weren't quite sure what their role was, right? Our attack, Robbie wasn't there, so we had kind of the Notre Dame attack. We had the Notre Dame defense, which was stout and great. We had Troutman in goal. Jack Kelly is playing world-class Jack Kelly, vintage Jack Kelly right now. You can't top that. Unless you have Blaze Reardon around, like there's no better goalie in the world than Jack right now. And then he just came off a gold medal performance, and he's feeling really good about himself. So they also have, John Sexton is healthy again, and he's playing like John Sexton. I think offensively, everybody seems to know their role and is very comfortable with it. There was always, it felt like there was like one attackman. Like Jules was trying to figure out where the hell do I fit in on this offense? And then Matt Cavanaugh was, where the hell do I fit in on this offense? And Ryder was still trying to learn to be a professional. Rob Pennell being at X gives them a calming presence of, okay, that is our quarterback. We play off of that. And because Rob, as you had said earlier, is pass first, how do I make my offense click? And then if nobody covers me, I'm going to make you pay for it. So it's not like it dies in Rob's stick. He catches, and I think he's doing the best job he's ever done in his career of catching and going. And that offense seems very comfortable, confident, and they're all getting along. So it's pretty cool.
And you're absolutely right. I mentioned a few episodes ago how impressed I was with Jules playing that role, playing his role, playing within himself, and not trying to do too much, and just accepting the role of being an initiator. He might not be the guy who buries the ball backside on a dunk like he or dice a guy up from the wing like he was in college or was maybe earlier in his pro career. He's the party starter. He gets the defense moving, and he's playing awesome. I think what's going to make this Redwoods team very, very dangerous and what's going to separate them is if they start getting some contribution from known studs. Like, I don't think Miles Jones is playing his best lacrosse right now. I don't think Sergio Perkovic. I know Sergio is playing a little bit of a two-way role, but I think the shortened shot clock promotes him, stay on the field, take a run at an offensive midi that's caught on the field, dissect him, unload a two-bomb, right?
I also will say this, though, too, Sibes. Like I had said, with Rob being Rob and John Grant Jr. being the OC, it's like this is not a midfield dodging dominant team. This is a wing and from X dominant dodging offense. Mm-hmm. And if we play within that concept, there's really not a team that can really slow us down. Because if they do try to slow down the wings and Rob, that means they have to slough in. And what are you giving up? You're giving up a Miles two-bomb. You're giving up a Sergio two-bomb, or Nakai now doesn't have a slide immediately when he decides to go to the rack. So I think they're playing exactly what they're built for right now, and it shows. And it's like, until you prove you can beat us this way, we're going to keep doing it.
And in the chaos on the other side, they're sitting at 2-2, which is probably more wins that they're used to having at this point of the season. But watching this game, I thought they played very frustrated. I thought they were down, and then they started taking some shitty shots, really forcing the ball, and it just looked frustrated. At times, I saw a guy like Dane Smith, who all-world player, and I know he just played a shit ton of games in San Diego, but there was times when I saw him like he could have had like a one more skip to Josh Byrne, who he probably knows is going to finish it, but he hadn't seen the ball in a little bit. And he's like, all right, I'm going to take this 14-yard shot with a guy on my hands. And with Jack Kelly in the cage, it's up and out the other way.
Yeah, I think people have to understand, and I'm not saying this is exactly it, but people have to understand the effect of losing a gold medal game after playing 7 games in 10 days. And then I give anybody props who just comes straight home and then plays that weekend. I've done it. It sucks, okay, especially after losing a gold medal game. You are frustrated. You've had a rough summer, and anything that doesn't go your way gets very annoying very quickly. That is a very bad atmosphere for a locker room. Now, like I said, I'm not guaranteeing that's what happened, but that's my experience. And I think you're going to see guys, maybe their body's a little tired, maybe they're a little frustrated, maybe they need a little mojo themselves, so they take a shot where usually they would pass. You also have to remember that they were getting pumped on the face-off stripe, and I was actually surprised because I thought Nick Rowlett has been doing a pretty good job this summer. So him being taken out right away was kind of shocking to me. But here's another thing, too. In the fourth quarter, the Woods decided to kill time, I guess. They were going to concede some faceoffs. So TD didn't go in for like 3 or 4, and those were the main faceoffs that the Chaos actually got in the fourth quarter. I think they were the only faceoffs they won. And they scored like 2 or 3 goals within that period of time. They scored 2 goals directly off of a faceoff with the Wings coming upfield. So if they're getting possessions, this offense can do anything. But I do think there's a little bit of a fatigue and frustration factor this first weekend after coming back from the Worlds.
Yeah, you make a really good point. And I'm sure, I think Coach Towers is one of the more passionate coaches in the PLL. And I know, right, some people think it's for the camera and for the clips, but I know he cares about those guys and really cares about winning.
Yeah,
so
he's the same way on camera as he is off. He's nothing fake about that guy.
Absolutely. And I think that he's going to, get these guys on the right track, which let's go right into next week in Fairfield, which is a super cool venue. It's another smaller venue for the POL, but such a hotbed area for lacrosse. We talk about our boy Dan Aresti. He's been tweeting up a storm about, Connecticut lacrosse. He loves it. So I'm sure he'll be boots on the ground. If you see him, make sure you say what up to him.
He's buying very hard for the Connecticut Chaos. That's what he wants.
Oh, that's what it is. But so, Fairfield, cool stadium. It's definitely on the smaller side. It's similar to Peter Barton in Denver and what's it called?
Gorgeous.
Yes. Oh yeah, it's new actually. The first fun fact, first game ever at I forget. I think it's called Raftery Stadium. I can't remember off the top of my head. Uh, First game ever. The opening day of that stadium was my freshman year at Villanova, and we played Fairfield at Fairfield, and they beat the piss out of us. they cut they cut the ribbon and then just proceeded to pump us. And the way the stadium is, I don't know if you've ever been there. They have these townhouses up behind the bleachers, and so people, students don't go into the game. They get a keg and they sit up behind the fence, which is above the bleachers in these townhouse area, and it's right behind the benches. So they're screaming at us the whole game. And I remember, this is a funny story. Before the game, we hadn't had many games televised on ESPN that year, and our coach said to us before the game, "Listen, this game's going to be on ESPN. Watch your mouth. Don't do anything stupid."
Totally threw you guys off not doing stupid stuff.
And it gets to a point, Fairfield's killing us, and these students are yelling, "Hey, 17!" This kid on our team, who I don't know how they picked him, but they knew they picked the right guy because the kid was an absolute hothead. And he turns around, "Hey, shut the fuck up!" And our coach just stares down at the end of the bench. And it was bad.
Nothing good's gonna come of that.
Oh yeah, but.
Yeah, it's Fairfield is a gorgeous stadium. In 2016, we actually had the ML semifinals there, and we played against the Denver Outlaws, and Tommy Kelly at the time was facing off for them, and we took there was a barrage of goals early in the game, and we were both using I was using the original blade, and I was using a black one, and after the sixth or seventh face-off on the field, the temperature was over 130 degrees. That the string holes on one of my sticks was melting.
Oh my god!
And I had to start swapping heads in an ice bucket to try to get through the game. And guys were dropping like flies. So that heat, that turf, if it's hot out, dude, you'll see the radiation of heat on television, man. It gets warm.
So we'll start with. I was going to start with the chaos because we just finished with them, but let's actually go chronological order. Okay. We got Friday night lacrosse, which is awesome. I love the Friday Saturday schedule much more than the Saturday Sunday. So we have Friday 6 p.m. Water Dogs versus Whip Snakes, two teams that are trending different directions right now. I look at this game. I look at the Water Dogs. We kind of we glanced over some individual performances. I think the Water Dogs. Guys like Jake Caraway, who was, found a new home, he's playing awesome. Guys like, the known names, right? You got Ethan Walker, who's playing awesome, Courier. They definitely don't have this, championship hangover that, maybe we saw coming out of the gates. Out of the gates, they were a little slow. They won some, but, Connor Kelly's really coming out as a leader of this team and turning himself into just a veteran of this sport and a just household name, if he wasn't already.
Yeah, and McCardle, everybody's clicking right now. I'm going to be interested to see if they go back to Goldbrick and they just say we're going to go with a poll on face-offs again, and we're going to sit back, we're going to drop in, and Petey LaSala was a stand-up neutral grip All-American face-off man for Virginia. If he employs some of these tactics, I feel like he could have a lot of success. He's fast and he's great with his stick. Getting the ball out forward and running past the pole is something that Petey is actually built for. And then, I think we'll see. Are we going to get Rambo back? I think we'll get Rambo back after the Worlds. I think he's had a week of rest. And then I also think, hopefully we'll get Smith back at some point because I'd love to see the Whip Snakes at full strength. But, it'll be interesting. What do you think is going to happen?
I think it's going to be a close game, which is such a cop-out to say because all these games are close games for the most part. I think I don't know what the line is. I don't have it up in front of me. But I think the Whip Snakes, I'm assuming, will be underdogs. I think they're going to win. Yeah. I think they're going to win. I think the Whip Snakes are going to really bear down. They know, they're probably they know they're on a downswing. They need a get-right game. I think Bernlohr might steal one. I don't think it's going to be a decisive victory. I think it's going to be, come down a couple plays, and I think ultimately Bernlohr is going to make more saves and let them win the game?
I think that it'll be very dependent on what happens on faceoffs, but I could see the Water Dogs covering in this game. I think they're playing with a ton of confidence. I think they have found something that they think works on the faceoff thing, and they all seem to be on board with it. They're getting very strong defensive play, and their offense seems to be clicking, and everybody's healthy. And I think that's huge in this league. So yeah, I could see the Water Dogs winning by 2.
Okay. And do you think so? Okay. Do you think they're going to keep Ward in the game playing goalie? I know they tried DeLuca out a couple weeks ago before Worlds. Ward pulled himself. You see that being an issue? No. Just
No, I
okay.
think both of those goalies are professionals. Both of them are ready to go, and they're both very, very good. I think
All
they
right.
have an embarrassment of riches at that position. So it really doesn't matter to me who they play with. That I think they're going to do a good job.
Love it. Let's move right along to the next Friday night game, 8:30 p.m. Archers versus Redwoods, battle of 2 3-1 teams. Honestly, I think this could be a preview of the championship. Or excuse me, the Redwoods. The Redwoods might be 2-2. I might have. Nope, they're 3-1.
No, the Woods are third, I think.
Yep, 3-1. I think this could be a preview of the championship game. I think both teams, we talked about it in the recap, both teams are clicking on all cylinders. Both teams' offense are so fun to watch for me, as a consumer of the game right now. I think having these two teams on TV is just, it's fun for everyone. And with guys playing with such creativity, we saw last week Tommy Schreiber was having, turnaround, wraparound goals. I don't even know what you want to call it. Behind the back, behind the ankle. I don't even know what it's called. But and then Ryder, we talk about him every week. He's finding new ways to score. And I think this is going to be a high scoring game. I don't know what the total is. And I know we talked about how well Jack Kelly's playing. I just think Jack Kelly can save 50%. The Archers are still going to score 15 goals. That's just, the way this league is, the way the game's played, how many possessions there are, how much offense is generated. I think it's going to be a very high-scoring game, very fun to watch. I think if you're going to watch any game this weekend, this is the game to tune into.
If you want to talk about parity in a league, I'm looking at DraftKings right now. Every game is a 1.5 spread, and 3 of the 4 games are 23.5 OUs, with the Chrome and Cannons being 24.5. Does that tell? I mean, what does that tell you? That's crazy. So, yeah, the Woods are they're dogs by 1.5.
What's
And
the juice on it, though? Is it like plus 1.5 minus 150?
yeah, Redwoods are plus 1.5.
But what's the minus what?
Oh, minus 145.
145. So yeah, you got to lay a
if you
little.
bet for the Woods to cover, it's a minus 145 bet.
Yeah, you got to lay a little. What the Woods money line must be what, like plus 100?
The Woods money line is plus 100. Yep.
No. Okay, so,
So-
they're underdogs by a hair, you call it?
Yeah. I think I'm excited to see Sisselberger versus TD. I give Sisselberger. I think really whoever does better in this matchup is probably going to get that second All-Star spot.
And these two have never faced each other before, right?
No.
Cool.
I'm going to give a slight advantage to Sisselberger, though. I think he's ready for this. I think his stance, his style is really good. And I like the way the Archers' wings are playing. It'll be good to see a face-off matchup. But
Yes.
I think the Woods will cover. I think the Woods will get – I think it'll be a one-goal game. I still think the Archers will probably win, but I think it's going to be a one-goal game.
I'm going with the Woods. I think they're just having fun watching them play. And I think what the Archers' offense, they have Schreiber as their kind of veteran leader, and the Woods have Pennell. And I think having Pennell on the field the whole game, not saying it's just a little bit more of an edge than Schreiber kind of coming off out of the box every possession, right?
Yeah.
Having, there might be a possession that's, bang, bang, quick, and Schreiber doesn't have a chance to sub out there.
Yeah.
More or less every possession, Pennell is touching the ball. And I think that slight difference makes a world of difference in a game like this.
Yeah. I mean, that's a great point. the healthiest team is always the one going to be one going on a run in this league. So, yeah, I mean, I still think it's going to be a 1-goal game, and I'm taking the Woods to cover. So it'll be a fun Friday night. We're going to be in for a treat.
Pizza night in the Gremlin household, am I right?
Well, we'll see. We're going to be in Avalon.
All right.
So, yeah, if there's a good pizza, you never know. We might go pizza night Friday night. We'll see.
Moving on to Saturday, 6 p.m., we have Chrome, who are sitting at 1-3, versus the Cannons, who are sitting at 2-2. Both teams, I think, want the. I mean, that's a stupid thing to say. Everyone wants to win, but I think the Chrome, as a fan, it's tough watching them this year so far. I think that they haven't got their feet under them yet. I think they're really messing around with the lineup, getting guys in, trying to find it, and they haven't yet.
Yeah, I think when you start with beginning of the game, face-off wise, I think the Cannons are going to come into this game and they're going to see what the Water Dogs did last week. I think there's a very good chance they don't dress a face-off guy.
Wow.
And they go to the Chrome and they say, "Look, we saw what happened last week. You had 10 turnovers off of the face-off. We're gonna beat you up on it." I think the Cannons are also, like we talked about earlier, they are flowing while the Chrome are ebbing, and I think plus it -1.5 for the Cannons, and you're getting plus 125. I feel like this is a very solid bet. Okay. It's a very good value bet.
I like it. I think that's a good call. I think if you any chance to get plus odds is gravy. So
I'm actually going to bet on that now before it changes.
Before the episode releases and the odds swing.
Yeah, the effect we have.
Yeah. I think to your point about seeing the Cannons, seeing what the Water Dogs did to the Chrome, I want that strategy to burn a team. So then it's like, all right, this isn't the cure-all to batting a team with a better face-off guy than us. I want it to burn a team. I don't want you to
look, man. Me too.
I don't want you to lose your bet, though.
But like I said, when I was talking to Paul the other day, he was saying, like, let's see the counterpunch now. And he was saying, like, there are ways to beat this. And I've told all of my FOA guys that are in the league, I'm like, this is the way you beat this. And I've broken it down. And the thing is that everybody believes that this is going to get rid of the face-off position. I think it's the opposite. I think it's going to put higher value on guys who are experts at the entire position. Not just guys that can clamp. I think guys that can strategize, use their wings and spacing, have the skill set to stand up, get the ball out quick, and then have the wheels and athleticism to take it to the rack. I bet you Joe Nardella is sitting at home right now going, let's go. Let me get in there and show you I can beat this. Because I think guys that are fast and guys that are athletic who can handle the ball, I think the premium is going to go all the way to the top when it comes to draft day. Who can do those things? Because that's the only space for room for face-off guys in this league now are guys who can do that.
You hit the nail on the head because it's emphasizing, which I think a lot of coaches, and I'm sure you have for years, which is you can be the best clamper in the world, but if you can't do anything with the ball afterwards, you're useless.
You're useless.
So
and if you don't have a shot clock, or if there's an 80-second or a 52-second shot clock, you can get away with it. But when there's 32 seconds and you have to be decisive and athletic and good with the stick and protect it, there's going to be a very small percentage of guys right now. And I think people are complaining because, this is going to get rid of faceoffs. No, it's just going to get rid of the very good faceoff guys at the pro level, which it should be. It should be the best 2 or 3 guys. And, that's what we're going to get. So, I think in this, like, for instance, the Atlas game, there's a very good chance I could see the Chaos taking an attackman and taking a long pole and going out there. And I think, Trevor will have to demonstrate that he has control over the unit. He can use offensive middies, and he can use his spacing and technique. And if that happens and he burns them for a couple goals and they score, 12 or 16% of their first possessions, then people are going to be like, all right, non-issue. You just got to be like that.
Yeah. I mean, going towards that Atlas Chaos game, Atlas are 1-3. Chaos are 2-2. I don't. Do you still have the odds up? I would put the Atlas as favorites in this game, even
Yeah,
though they.
the Atlas are 1.5 point favorites,
Yeah, that makes
but
sense.
that is a plus 120 bet. If they win by 2, that's a plus 120
Hammer
bet.
that. That's my
You
best bet
think
of the
so?
week. Atlas
See,
minus
my
one and a
my
half. Best bet
thing
of the week.
is I think and this is completely dependent on what happens with the wing play and all that stuff. The Chaos have very good LSMs. If you tell one of them you're going to go out there, you're going to take all the drugs. Now, if they trot out
Well,
Rowlett or Adler,
speaking of, CJ Costabile has taken a lot of face-offs in his career.
yeah,
Too bad Scotty isn't on.
but that's exactly who I'm thinking.
Yeah.
And the problem with CJ though is CJ can win a faceoff.
Yeah.
So is he down with just standing up and creating prevent defense? But if the Chaos trot out a pole, I see them covering. If the Chaos trot out Rowlett or Adler, I can see the Atlas covering because that is something that the Atlas haven't proven they can beat yet.
If
And
anyone's going to throw a kitchen sink at Trevor, it's going to be Towers.
I agree. But also Andy is a player's coach, and he makes sure damn well that everybody in that locker room knows he believes in them. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if that plays into his decision on this or not. Like, you don't want to lose Adler, right, and be like, we're going without a faceoff guy this week. Strategically, just for this team, do you lose your faceoff? Do they lose their minds and now their confidence is crushed? I don't know. But if you want to win this game, you're not going to beat Trevor on faceoffs. So can you make him go back and just do it all game because the Atlas haven't proven they – because you look at these two offenses, the way they're playing, if they're given equal chances, the Chaos can shred this Atlas defense the way they've been playing.
Yeah, I think you make great points, and I agree with all of them. I just think, just from what I saw last week in terms of the Chaos offense, I know every week's a new week, and I know the Atlas defense hasn't been playing as well as they can. I think the Atlas are going to tighten up on defense, and I think my favorite bet of the week is Atlas minus 1.5.
Okay.
Just their offense, I think. That starting attack is one of, if not the best starting attack in the league. And
I totally agree.
They all complement each other. It's not like they have players getting in each other's way, right?
My prediction strictly for this bet is that the Chaos are going to use a pole.
Okay.
They're going to force you back, and I believe this Chaos team will do whatever Andy tells them. They're very disciplined, and then I don't know if the Atlas are going to give Trevor the full keys to put whatever wings he wants out there. And I think that at the very least, the Chaos will hang in there and it'll be a 1-goal game. I would love to see the Atlas wake up all of a sudden, beat this whole prevent defense, and then their offense clicks. Because then we got a whole different Atlas to watch, which is so cool for the fans. Mm-hmm. But I just don't know if it's going to happen this week.
All right, well, that wraps up our preview for this coming up weekend. Games in Fairfield, Connecticut. Make sure you're tuning in. If you're in the area, be sure to check it out. That's going to be a really cool atmosphere to watch up close and personal to all these PLL games. Be sure to tune in through the rest of the season. We have some exciting stuff coming up in terms of interviews. We have we mentioned Lars Kiel. We have Casey Powell on the schedule. We're going to get him on. And many more guests. We have, All-Star Game breakdown previews. We have a new iteration of the All-Star Game this year that's going to be really cool to talk to and talk about as it gets closer. But yeah, man, we just covered a lot. We played catch up. We took a week off, and man, we had a lot to cover. And we got a lot more coming down the pipe. So nothing but good things in the world of lacrosse.
Oh, love it. Everybody have an awesome week. Have a great pizza night. When you guys are telling us what you're having, make sure you @RiseUp on Twitter, and we will get back to you because we're going to be judging some pies because people are coming up with some pretty cool pies.
And to that point, let's shout out our boy Shane, who's taken over our Twitter. He's done a fantastic job engaging with you all. Make sure to tweet at him any and all opinions. He'll get back to you. Sometimes he consults with us. Sometimes he goes rogue, but that's why we love him. He's going to keep doing his thing, and he knows what he's talking about, so he'll battle any and all of you. But make sure if you're listening, subscribe, download Apple, Spotify, leave a review, tweet at us. And if you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to TorchPro's YouTube channel. And man, that is episode 36.
See you guys next week. Enjoy the weekend. To the moon.